Alrighty, what is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know what it is. Patriots Global and Patriots Football Breakdown back with another post-game video. Guys, every Monday we're coming at you. We're going to see how things go. I feel like last time, when we're doing these post-games, a lot of time you guys, we get more viewers like halfway through. So I'm curious to see if a 6 o'clock time slot will have more people come in, less people come in. We'll see. Usually we go at 5. Today we're going at about 6. Kind of curious to see how that kind of differential is going to pan out about an hour later. Because like I said, people usually do come in more about halfway through our streams when we go at 5. So we'll see if we switch it to 6, depending on how today's live stream goes. If not, we'll keep it at 5. But like always, me and Paige Football Breakdown have you guys covered every single Monday for these post-game videos. We will, although, have to see what happens. Well, me and you will talk off stream kind of about what exactly we're going to do about Thursday, because obviously that's not a Sunday game. So we'll figure out when exactly we'll recap that one. But nonetheless, in this one, the New England Patriots look, I thought this was going to be a great game. Ultimately, I did have the New England Patriots winning, but coming out 7-45 victory. I was not expecting this.
Didn't see that coming. I really didn't see that kind of point differential coming. I thought it was going to be a close game. I thought it was going to be kind of a physical ball control, kind of lower scoring game for both teams, really. But it was just totally one-sided, really from the jump. I mean, the Cleveland had they had a pretty good opening drive offensively for them, but after that, it was just nothing, lights out. Defense shut them down. They couldn't get anything going after that. Then the offense, man. I don't know what I'm more impressed with from yesterday, the offense or the defense, but it was just all around so great, man. Such a great performance.
Yeah. I mean, it feels great. It feels great to be able to have this feeling again. I mean, as Patriots fans, it isn't as long. Our drought was not as long as the Jets or the Bills or whatnot, but I think we can all agree that kind of year and a half that we had, kind of the way we were feeling with, this team being down, this offense looking horrendous. It was not a good feeling. And for the first time, I would say a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, like we finally are in a position where we are happy with the way this team is playing. This offense is looking outstanding. This is the second game in a row. Second game, home game, I should say, where the New England Patriots, I believe, put up about 45 points.
Yep.
And
the last
that's
two
also
home games combined 99-20, 2-0 in those games. The Jets game a few weeks ago, and then the Browns yesterday at 45-7 yesterday, 54-13, 99-20 over the last two home games. That's dominant.
Yeah, and the thing here too is that you look at 2019, where a lot of the points that we would see game in and game out, they did come offensively compared to what we saw in 2020, but what we're seeing in these games, more specifically, these 45-point games that we just talked about, none of those points came defensively. None of those. Yes, it came in an away game last week versus, to the chart 2 weeks ago versus the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
But, other than that, I mean, the points that are going up on the board have all been offensive points. And for the team offensively to put up 45 plus points on the board as just a unit offensively, completely putting up 45 points offensively with no help there from the defense, putting numbers up on the scoreboard. I mean, I'm flabbergasted, to say the least.
Three drives over 90 yards yesterday. 3 drives over 90 yards in total, including a 99-yarder. First since I think it was that Monday night game against Miami years ago when Brady had that 99-yarder to Welker. That was obviously the entire length of the field. But, that was the first 99-yard drive they had in over 10 years. And like I said, 3 of over 90 yards. That's ridiculous, man. That's so crazy.
It is. And we're going to get into the statistics here. We're going to get into, the analysis part. But for the beginning of this video, for a couple of minutes, guys, let us fanboy for a second. Let us fanboy. Let us connect with you guys on the point of saying that I am beyond impressed from what I've seen the last couple of weeks. The big questions have been, okay, you know what? You blew out the Jets. That's great. You put up 40-some points on the Jets. That's amazing. But can you do that against good teams? Okay, well, you show out versus the Chargers. You show out versus the Panthers. You show out versus the Browns. I mean, I firmly believe that if we saw this New England Patriots team that we have seen over the last few weeks, if we saw them against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if we saw them against easily week 1 against the Dolphins, or even against the Dallas Cowboys, I think all three of those games, we come out as a winner because all three of those games were very, 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 very close. Really comes down to a hair of a play. And this team is showing to be way more dynamic offensively than what we saw in the first half of the season. And I think if the offense plays back then how they did now, I think we're escaping with wins. I really do.
Yeah, earlier in the year, I mean, that's the sign of a young team who didn't quite know how to win those tight games yet and execute down the stretch like they do now. Now, I think, like you said, I think we at least have a better chance to win those games if you don't win them outright. I mean, look at Miami. You know, the Miami game week 1, if Damian Harris doesn't fumble that ball, we're sitting at like 7-3 right now, leading the AFC East, number 2 seed in the AFC. But even the Tampa Bay game, the Dallas game, I'll leave the like New Orleans. That was kind of a blowout all around.
Yeah,
that was
that
just a bad day. But, you know, the just execution in the fourth quarter wasn't really there against Tampa or Dallas. And that's just really, that was what we were talking about a month ago. That has to get better. The execution late in games, making the plays down the stretch, and then, you know, eliminating the mental mistakes, the penalties and the turnovers and whatnot. They've done 2 out of those 3 things. I mean, I think we're still having a few, you know, bad penalties, especially like Isaiah Wynn. He keeps having a few mental errors every week, it seems like.
Yes, and we'll talk about the O-line. Yeah,
but I mean, you know, the cutting down the turnovers, executing much better. Late in games, man, it's great to see. It's the Patriot way, as we've known it for 20 years. It's officially back, I think.
Oh yeah, they're back, baby. New England Patriots football. Bill Belichick, the New England Patriots, they are back, and they're not back with Tom Brady. This is not a year-to-year question on what are the New England Patriots going to do. Brady's getting older, and is Mac Jones where Brady is? No, I'm not saying that. Is he going to get where Brady is? No, I'm not saying that. But you have your future quarterback, and you have a guy going forward that you know is going to get the job done, do it the Patriots way, and gonna put points up on the board like we have seen the last several weeks here offensively. So, I mean, I think it's a safe bet to say the New England Patriots are back. And you know what the great thing is? The great thing here is that, and experts say this too, the way you're going to start playing right now, the way you play right now in the season is how you are going to play for the rest of the season, how you're going to play if you are a postseason team. And the New England Patriots are in the perfect position now because you'll hear this. And this isn't even about football, guys. This is about life. It doesn't matter how you start something. It matters how you finish it. And we've seen this in football all the time. I mean, with players constantly, the biggest one that comes to my head is Maurice Harris. Do you remember Maurice Harris coming in a couple of years ago, showing out in the New England Patriots training camp, OTAs, all offseason programs, and then right at the end, right before roster cutdowns, he gets injured, he kind of slows it down, and he ultimately gets cut from the team. It doesn't matter how you start something. It doesn't matter how long that longevity continues to get you if you cannot finish strong. And that's exactly the case right now. Although New England started slow, they are finally getting strong, and I don't see them falling off. I don't see this being a situation where New England's all of a sudden hot, and then all of a sudden it's just going to drop off all of a sudden. The entire season, we've really just talked about, you know, you have to limit these mistakes. You have to limit the penalties, but really offense needs chemistry. They need to start clicking, and we knew it was going to take a little bit of time for that to start, you know, to essentially get going. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we didn't even know Mac Jones was going to be the starter until, you know, a week or two before the start of the regular season. Essentially, you knew that it was going to take a little while for this offense to start, you know, going. And you look at teams like the Buffalo Bills, who, yeah, they started off, you know, stronger on the season despite losing, I believe, week 1 they did. But they are now in a position where they have a lot of question marks. And like I said just a second ago, how you play now is very determined on how you're going to play as the season progresses. And we're not going to talk about the AFC East right now, but guys, we are going to talk about the AFC East later in today's live stream. And can the New England Patriots, but will the New England Patriots come out as AFC East champions yet again? So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But, you know, if we look at here the statistics of this game, New England played outstanding. I mean, total yards. Cleveland put up 217 total yards to New England's 452. Passing yards, New England 268 to Cleveland's 118. Rushing yards, guys, And granted, they didn't have Nick Chubb, they didn't have Kareem Hunt, but rushing yards, they held the Cleveland Browns as a unit to less than 100 yards, 99 yards total to the Cleveland Browns, to New England's 184 rushing yards, average yards per play, New England 7.3, That'll definitely win you a game to New England or to Cleveland's 3.7. 7.3 to 3.7. That is a big differential for sure. And I think I mean, if you had to ask me one statistic that I think alone would showcase the New England Patriots winning this game, it would be that one for sure. 7.3 yards per play to 3.7. Points scored, of course, New England 45 to Cleveland's 7. Neither team lost a fumble. I thought that was really great to kindly see that streak end for the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Cleveland obviously throws 1 interception to New England 0. I think that's a pretty big turnover here also, is the fact that there really wasn't these big turnovers constantly by the offense. I think that was a big reason why this game didn't get out of hand, especially sacks allowed. Cleveland allowed 5 total sacks. 5 sacks to New England's 2.
Dietrich Wise 1.5 by himself.
Yeah,
I mean,
Dietrich Wise looked amazing. Now there was that one roughing the passer.
Yeah.
Call. I did think I thought it was a little BS personally, but I don't want to get too into that.
Roughing the passer calls aren't well. Let's just say they aren't what they used to be. Probably.
I mean, I thought the rule was if you take 2 steps or more, whatever the rules are, more than 2 steps, and you still hit the quarterback, it's roughing the passer. I thought
now it's you take 2 breaths on him and it's roughing the passer.
I mean, I thought I didn't even think he took 2 steps at all, because he was on Baker once Baker started throwing the ball. I mean, if you really slow that down, Baker did not have the ball out of his hand when Wise first initially had contact with him. So whatever. I think that call was a little bit of, BS. He did force a fumble. Unfortunately, the ball did go out of bounds, but still nonetheless forced a fumble. But New England puts up 5 sacks while Cleveland just puts up 2 on New England's offensive line. Third down efficiency. Wow, New England.
Story of the game, really. From an inside stats perspective, that was really it.
Yeah, I mean, if New England can continue to do this on third down efficiency against good teams.
Oh, hell.
I mean,
they won't. I mean, if they play like that on third down offense and defense, they won't lose again this year. I mean, that's remarkable. Can't expect it to be that great. I get rest of the year, but that was absolutely phenomenal. They were dominant offensively on third down. They totally shut down Cleveland on their third downs when they had the ball. That was absolutely the story of the game. Like you mentioned, the yards per play differential, and then the third downs. Man, that was huge.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at these statistics and, game in and game out, game plan, teams in general, they're all very different. So we're not going to act like this is how the team's going to play each and every single week. But as a consistent basis of what we've seen the last several weeks really does support this case. And what New England put up statistically here, these numbers do show a Super Bowl caliber team. Again, third down efficiency, New England was 77%, 77 to the Cleveland Browns, 9%. 9% to 70.
I didn't know it was that low for Cleveland. Wow.
9% to 70.
That'll win you a couple ball games right there. 77% conversion to 9% on defense. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, you think that's good? What about this? New England's time of possession, 34 minutes to Cleveland's 25.
Still there's still certain ways to win games, especially late in the year when the temperature drops and the offenses aren't quite as high flying. The weather gets colder, the kind of, it's not like summertime football where it's like 7-on-7, everybody's throwing it around. Time of possession, ball control, don't turn the football over, win turnover differential, things like it's, blocking and tackling. It's very old school, simple things that still win football games late in the year, man. That's why you said something earlier, the Patriots, this isn't something that they're doing that they're just going to fall off all of a sudden, because this formula that they have right now, this is how you win games late in the season, in the playoffs. Physical, running the ball, defense, not turning it over, smart. I mean, that's how you win. It's not, the Sports Center highlights and, Patrick Mahomes no-look passes. That's not doing them any good this year, obviously. You've seen they've had to get back to basics, really, to try and get back on track. As the season goes on, man, the weather gets colder. It's all about who's the most physical, who runs the ball the best. And right now, the Patriots are doing it as well as anybody, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, if you want to get on the NFL's highlight reel, go ahead and throw the no-look passes. But if you want to win games, do what the Patriots are doing right now. And, even in the offseason, this is something that I was saying, I thought the New England Patriots were going to do with Mac Jones, a rookie quarterback under the helmets. They were going to take that same approach that they did with Brady. Run the ball as effectively and efficiently as you can. Take it slow with the quarterback, give him routes that he's comfortable with, but really rely on that running game. But more specifically, rely on that defense. And that's exactly what this team is doing. from every aspect, like I said, putting up time of possession of 34 minutes, that's another aspect that I'm actually really happy to see New England has kind of taken advantage over, I would say more so the last several weeks than they did in the first half of the season. I think you kind of look back at that Tampa game and they didn't dominate time of possession. They didn't dominate holding on to the ball. And when you have a quarterback like Brady on the other side of the field, that's exactly what you have to do. And I think that's something that even early in the season, me and you were talking about. We're like, what are they doing? I mean, you need to keep the other opposing offense off the field, especially when they were playing that the way they did. I mean, they went down, they drive the ball down the field. They scored a late touchdown. I don't remember if that tied the game or if that put New England ahead or whatever the case was. But let's remember that if New England had kicked that field goal, I think what would that have sent them into overtime? I believe it was.
Oh, and in the
against
Tampa game?
Yeah.
No, I think that would have been either 1 or 2 point lead because I think it was 16 to 14 at the time. I'm pretty sure. I'm having a hard time remembering, but yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I believe it was a go-ahead field goal because Brady was going to have like 45 seconds left, and they would have just gone down. Exactly. All they did was a field goal, but yeah, it would have been a go-ahead field goal.
Exactly.
So, I hate to open up like an old wound, but I mean, think back to Super Bowl 42, man. The Giants. What did they do, man? Keep the better team off the field. They controlled the ball the entire first quarter. Most of the game they dominated time of possession, limited our opportunities with the explosive offense. That's how you beat the better team, man. You keep them off the field. Shorten the game. Don't let the more talented team. The more talented team touches the ball, the less your chances, or the more your chances go down of winning the game against a better team. Keep the better team off the field, shorten the game, make it less opportunities for them to be better than you. That's how you beat more talented teams. The Patriots. Our talent's good, but it's not the best in the league. We're not upper echelon like Dallas, the Rams, teams that are just loaded like that. Which is another reason I like this formula, man. Control the clock, control the ground game, be physical. It's regardless of how much talent you have, that's still a great way to win. I mean, you could have whatever quarterback you want, anybody. I mean, running the football and dominating the clock. If the other team doesn't have the ball, they can't score. I mean, it's always going to be a great way to win, regardless of how much talent you have, anything like that, man. It's always a great formula.
I agree. And, like you said, I think if New England dominates time of possession, they really take care of the clock the way they have the last couple of weeks. If they do that, even early in the season against a team like Tampa Bay, you're potentially talking about that game going in another direction. Now, look, at the end of the day, New England doesn't kick that field goal, or they kick the field goal, but they don't get it. They don't go for it and try to go ahead and score the touchdown or put Nick Folk in a better position, which ultimately ends up leaving the New England Patriots at a loss. But let's say that they do end up kicking the field goal and they make it. Let's say they do go for it. They get a touchdown late in the game when they're leading. You still give Brady more than enough time to go ahead down the field, which really goes back to control the clock. They were not controlling the clock there. And that's another aspect of this game that I really like, that I've seen New England really change throughout their game, is to start dominating time of possession, like we talked about them needing to do, and really controlling the clock. I think penalties are still an issue. They were tied with Cleveland in this game. Both teams did have 6 total penalties, but New England, I feel like game in and game out, if that's kind of one thing that is still kind of killing this team, 100%, I think everybody can agree it's definitely still penalties. I think it's gotten better from what we saw early in the season, but it definitely is still an issue. And then, like I said, I at least in this game, taking care of the ball definitely got a whole lot better. And we can only hope that that's something that's going to continue to happen. But finally, they kind of cut out that that nasty habit of fumbling the ball or turning over the ball with interceptions, and having none of those in this game. So that was actually something that it was
because Bill set the precedent. If you fumble, you're going to the bench and you may never come back. So I mean, it takes another guy fumbling for you to get back in the game. I think they're kind of scared straight at this point. They know better than to fumble, but especially later in the year where these games get tighter, ball security is paramount. Always is, but especially as the games get later into the season, especially into the playoffs, lower scoring games, things like that. And, with the penalties too, I mean, it's not, you're going to have, some penalties here and there, but it's just the penalties at the inopportune times, man. You get off the field on third down, but then you have a, pass interference, keep the other team on the field, roughing the passer, the same thing, just bad penalties like that, wiping out touchdown runs, like, against the Chargers twice, or one touchdown run and another big run. But just things like that, penalties at bad, inopportune times. Things like that. They just got to eliminate the really, really bad penalties.
Yeah, I agree. So, let's kind of break this down here. What do you think about Mac Jones, first off?
Razor sharp, man. I mean, razor sharp.
Oh, yeah.
158.3 perfect quarterback rating or passer rating, QBR is up to 100, but, quarterback rating, 158.3 on throws 10 plus yards down the field. So I would submit that to the Rex Ryan, pea shooter crowd. They're not having a very good day today. Mac was excellent, 19 out of 23. That laser he threw to Kendrick Bourne, man, where he just went up and got it. That's the best throw of his career. That was a rip. That was on a line, frozen rope. That's people say, oh, well, he doesn't have arm talent. He just takes a lot of checkdowns. Well, here's the thing with the checkdowns. I'll get to Mac's overall performance, but this is something I've been wanting to kind of address. It's like they just say, oh, Mac takes too many checkdowns. He takes too many checkdowns. You got to throw it deep just to stretch it. All right, so regardless of time, score, situation, regardless of the coverage, regardless of the play, just throw it deep for the sake of doing it, right? I mean, hey, coach, it's cover 4. I got a couple, drag routes. Nah, man, just throw deep. Nah, just throw deep just to do it. And it's just so. I mean, if he's missing plays over the top and taking checkdowns, then yeah, that's a problem. But I don't think he's missed too many. I mean, I'm sure he missed a few, early in the year when he was first getting his feet wet, as far as being an NFL quarterback. But it's called a check down because it's the safe option. That's what the quarterback's supposed to do. Keep the ball moving down the field. Keep the offense in, good position. Don't turn the ball over. Don't kill the team with bad, turnovers. So I think he's doing exactly what he needs to do, and he's doing it very well. And like I said, he was, accuracy, anticipation, all that. We knew about that coming out of Alabama, but he's got, I think, a much better arm strength than people gave him credit for. I think he's a lot more athletic than people gave him credit for too. He throws very well on the move. He's not like a 4 flat dynamic runner or anything like that. But if they forget about him, he can pick up yards with his feet when he needs to. Again, nothing, not Lamar Jackson, anything, extravagant like that. But he's got some wheels to him. When he needs to use them, he can. I love everything about his game, man. Really do.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. The stats don't necessarily jump off the sheet other than the whole completion here. Like you said, 19 for 23. That's spectacular. Only missing a total of 4 passes. I mean, and one of those was down the field ball to a Nelson Aguilar, who, look, even the commentator said it in that game. They're like, you know what? You want to see Mac Jones rip it? There you go. It's not a completion. It's not a big splash play down the field, but you want to see him rip it down the field. He clearly just did. And was it that Mac overthrew Nelson Aguilar? Was it that Aguilar slowed down? I've heard it both ways until I watched the coach's film, essentially. I'm not exactly.
If you're going to miss, you definitely want to miss long on those deep shots. And there is a benefit to that. I mean, because it plants the seed of doubt in the defense's mind. They got to back off a little bit. If you're basically just working the short to intermediate game, you got to take a couple deep shots, even if it's not even designed to be complete. Just heave it, just to make them see the ball go over their head. Don't put the ball in jeopardy, to the defense, obviously. But like I say, if you're going to miss long. He missed him on that deep shot, but that's okay, man. That's the kind of thing you can live with.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. And like I said, the stats don't necessarily jump off the sheet. I will say 0 interceptions and 3 touchdowns. That was really, really nice to see a 3-game touchdown for Mac Jones. I mean, first of his entire career. So watching history already blooming within itself, but only 198 yards. I mean, not necessarily something you expect. You know what I'm saying? I mean, 45 points up on the board, coming none from the defense. And your quarterback only throws for 198 yards.
Well, they had like 180 yards rushing or north of 180 yards rushing. I mean, that's the yard splits and all that. I mean, hey, if they're beating teams by 38 points and they're dominating the way, I don't care if he throws for 2 yards, man. If they're continuing to play like this is outstanding, man. I mean, I'm not so. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at the attempts. Yeah, it was 23 attempts, so 198 yards. It's not like he was throwing it, 45 times and only threw it for 198 yards. So I mean, that's okay. I don't mind that too much. Like I said, as long as he's not, missing opportunities down the field when he's just checking it down, which I don't think he really does. I mean, the stats, it was not eye-popping yards-wise, but incredibly efficient. And that's what we need out of him more than anything, just efficiency. He doesn't have to be, 450 yards, bazooka arm, crazy Madden stats, all that sort of thing. We don't need him to do that right now because the way the defense is playing, the way the running game is grinding it out. He's doing, like I said, I feel like he's doing exactly what he needs to do, and he's doing it extremely well.
He definitely is. And, like you said, you're relying on that running game. This is something they did with Brady even early on. They'll get more and more comfortable as time goes on with Mac Jones. Mac Jones will get more adapted. What we're seeing from Mac Jones isn't the end-all, be-all. Does he have maybe the ceiling of, I would say, the other quarterbacks in this year's draft? No, not necessarily, but things are still going to get better with Mac Jones. This is still year 1. Give him some time to be fully comfortable and really divulged himself into everything in the NFL, which no matter what you say, no matter what New England says about throwing the kitchen sink at him, they haven't thrown every last bit at Mac Jones. I mean, I'm excited to see Mac Jones in his second year when he has an entire year under his belt, another offseason as the actual starter. There's still more to see from Mac Jones, I definitely think. And those numbers will go up there passing yards wise once, they establish that passing game even more, which I think they're doing as each week even goes on this season. But, kind of moving on to the running game, like you mentioned, this was just dominant. And this wasn't even dominant from the factor of running backs. This was just dominant from a rushing standpoint, period. I mean, the second best runner in this game was Kendrick Bourne. I liked seeing Kendrick Bourne actually get the ball. I thought this could be a game where it's perfect. It is perfect for a Cordero Patterson type role for Jonnu Smith. And then surprisingly, Jonnu Smith doesn't play in this game due to injury.
Yep.
That scared me. I don't know about you, but that scared me. When I saw Jonnu Smith wasn't in the game, I was like, well, shoot, we have Damien Harris also out of this game. Ramondre Stevenson is going to be the starter. You got Brandon Bolden. JJ Taylor has been sitting on the bench. I mean, this isn't necessarily a good look, especially because we weren't sure if Ramondre was going to be able to play in this game or not. And so the fact that we didn't have a guy like Jonnu Smith to potentially take those reps kind of question things for me. But for Kendrick Bourne to step up 3 carries, 43 yards, averaging 14.3 yards per carry was absolutely amazing. I thought Ramondre Stevenson proved that he deserves to be the second running back on this roster. Now, will he? I don't know, because New England, Belichick, they love Brandon Bolden. So, this was a great kind of game for Ramondre Stevenson to staple himself into a legitimate role and not be benched every other game in replace for JJ Taylor. But will he be the designed second running back behind Damien Harris at this point? Ultimately, we'll just have to see. But 20 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 yards per average. Absolutely outstanding game from Ramondre Stevenson.
Reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew a little bit, just the way he bounces off guys. Got kind of a low center of gravity, always lowers the shoulder, always runs with physicality, man. I just love the way he runs. He's pretty flight of foot, too, man. I mean, he's got some pretty good hands out of the backfield. He can catch the ball when given the opportunity. Like I said, James White early in the season before he got hurt, they're going to Brandon a lot on third downs because he's been playing really well lately. You don't see Ramondre too many times in that kind of situation, but when they have given him some looks out of the backfield, catching the ball, I think he's done really well. He's pretty athletic and nimble in that regard. Probably a better pass catcher than Damien is. But yeah, I mean, I think just using all the running backs, man, sprinkling them all in here, keeping them all fresh by doing that. I just think it's fantastic. N'Keal Harry too in the running game yesterday. He was, some of those wham blocks he got on Myles Garrett just totally cleaned him out, knocked him out of the play. I see Reggie P here. He's got a super chat for us. But yeah, man, I really love the way N'Keal Harry was blocking some of the heavy formations too. Trent Brown back, that was huge. There were some formations where they had Michael Weenu out at tight end. Trent Brown had a tackle. Shaq Mason at guard. He got 260-pound Jakob Johnson behind him. Then he got N'Keal Harry, who's pretty big in his own right, coming down the line of scrimmage, knocking out the defensive end. I mean, you look up bully ball in the dictionary. That's how you do it.
Game blocking. Outstanding game when it comes to blocking. And we'll touch on the offensive line here in a second. I think if there's kind of one point that I would have kind of question mark or maybe a little, I don't want to say questioning Bill Belichick, but for lack of better words, kind of questioning Bill Belichick, it would be about Mike Onwenu, which will, like I said, we'll get in here into a second. But Ramondre Stevenson was targeted 5 times, 4 receptions, 14 yards. He totally did it. But like you said, Reggie P is out here with another donation. Reggie P dominated the last chat when it comes to super chats. Me and Patriots Football Breakdown gave him a pretty big shout out.
Reggie's
last time for those. Reggie really shows up game in and game out. He only pulled us back up. Is it going to show me? All right. He said, Bills are. Oh my God, why is it not showing? 1 second. Let me see. All right, there we go. He said, Bills are one-dimensional. I think we match up incredibly well. I think we can go 5-2 the rest of the season reasonably easy. All right, interesting. So, you know what? With Reggie bringing that up, Pages Football Breakdown, I love to do something. Every time that we go live, at least to do these post-game recaps, I love to kind of look at where we are within the season and kind of give our predictions on how do we think the rest of the season can go. And after seeing how the Patriots have played the last 3 weeks, and I think this will be an excellent clip to actually put up on the YouTube channel. I'm going to pull this up here. I'm going to pull this up for us, pull up the schedule. So Reggie thinks that we can go 5-2 the rest of the season. Reasonably easy.
I think that's pretty reasonable, targeted final record. I mean, Tennessee at home, obviously Tennessee is great this year. They're 8-2, but I don't think that's a pretty bad matchup for us. I think we match up with Tennessee pretty well. I think we both do the same, kind of things. We're going to have that game at home, 1 o'clock game, 6-1 in the 1 o'clock window this year. I actually kind of like our chances against Tennessee in that particular spot. Buffalo got 2 games with them. Buffalo is still a solid team. They're a little bit down though, and I thought they would be down going into this season. They're playing a first place schedule this year. They're kind of the hunted, not the hunters anymore. And and like Reggie said, they are kind of one dimensional. I don't think they're running the ball as well as they did last year. It's a little more just all on Josh Allen, the passing game. Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, and Beasley there. But I think we got a good chance to, at the very least, split with them. We played them tough in Buffalo last year. If not for the fumble, on the last drive there, arguably we could win that game. The matchup at home was kind of a washout, but by that time in the season, that we were pretty much done anyway. I think guys pretty much knew where we were headed, which was nowhere last year. But I think this year with this new energy this team has, and the way Buffalo is kind of taking a step back a little bit, I absolutely think we have a chance to at least split with them. And Jacksonville, Miami to end the season, 2 very winnable games. Indianapolis, you never know what you're going to get from them. Carson Wentz is a turnover factory. Atlanta this week. Atlanta's no great shakes at all. I mean, they're coming off a beatdown. They're at home on prime time, so are they going to be a little more, a little more ready to play? Sure, probably, but I still don't think they're all that talented. I think 5-2 is completely reasonable.
I 100% agree. I don't see any flaw in what Reggie is saying in this one. Looking at the schedule at this point, I mean, I think Atlanta was getting a little bit hot. I mean, Atlanta's a team that you're talking about potentially squeezing in, being one of those last teams in the NFC to squeeze into the playoffs there. But this week, they did not look good. This week, they did not look good at all. Cordero Patterson also looks like there's a very good chance he won't be playing in this upcoming game, which is a very, very big loss for one of the most explosive players to emerge in the NFL this season. So
Calvin
it's
Ridley's
pretty
still
safe.
out too, if I'm not mistaken.
Who's still out?
Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley will also still be out as he deals with personal reasons.
Right.
I don't know what's going on with him, but I genuinely do hope that all is okay. I'm hearing might be mental illness and what isn't all from what I'm hearing, which if you have to take a step away from football because it's that bad, I mean, genuinely, I do hope everything is good with Calvin Ridley. But from a football standpoint, I think New England beats Atlanta. Like you said, Tennessee, probably the hardest matchup at this point for the rest of the season. I would say, I mean, they are right now pinned as the number 1 team in the AFC, looking to get that first round bye in the playoffs. But they did lose Derrick Henry. They don't exactly look like that top-notch dynamic team. They did sign Adrian Peterson, but Adrian Peterson, again, obviously is not Derrick Henry, is not anything close to Derrick Henry at this point.
What's left of Adrian Peterson anyway?
Yeah, and I think this is a winnable game for sure. I definitely do. I think that, it's at home. We'll have to see how New England continues to play at home. I think is going to be the big one because, for the majority of the season, they were great on the road, not so great at home. They won their last 2 matchups at home, so we'll have to continue to see how that is going to pan out. But definitely for sure, I think that this is a winnable game, but this is going to be the toughest game for New England. And then moving on to Buffalo, I mean, to go from Tennessee to Buffalo, that's going to be a really tough, 2 weeks here back to back for the New England Patriots. You could look at that from a concern standpoint, from a stamina standpoint, and have concerns, or you can look at it from a positive standpoint and say, well, you know what? You're coming off of a tough game. You're already in that mentality just to go into another tough game and already have that mentality. So you can really look at it from either way. I do think that New England definitely will at the least. I think at the least, New England is going to split with Buffalo. And depending on how Buffalo plays the next 2 weeks up until we play them, maybe New England can even win both of those games. Like you mentioned, this is not the same Buffalo Bills team that we have seen. Stephon Diggs, not even close to being as dynamic as he was last year. I don't know what's going on with that whole situation. I definitely think that if you want to get more dynamic, if you're the Bills offense, you got to get Stephon Diggs more involved because nowhere is he close to being the same that he was last year. Just in general, the biggest issue with the Buffalo Bills is their offense, their chemistry, their identity. This is the worst possible time for them to have lost it, but they
Yeah.
did. And New England needs to take advantage of that. New England needs to take advantage of that loss of that offensive identity, because if you look at the Patriots, you look at, last year, you look at even earlier this season, when a team doesn't have that offensive identity and you can take advantage of that, that can result in big deficits. That can result in big turnovers. And if anyone is going to take advantage of that, I do believe it is Bill Belichick. Obviously, the Colts do not look like a good team this year. I do not know what is going on with them. They look good at some moments and then they're falling other moments. I think that I'm not really worried about that game with how New England's been playing. I think that the Patriots will win that game. We already talked about Buffalo here. And then to end the last 2 weeks, Miami and Jacksonville, two of the worst teams in the league. New England, I think, easily comes out and wins those games for sure. So I don't think it is unreasonable at all. As long as this team can stay healthy, I don't see why this team cannot go at least 5-2. So I completely agree with Reggie. That is kind of the outlook here on the rest of the season. But Reggie also says, bring us up back on the screen here real quick. He brings up another good point. It's something that I did tell you I wanted to talk about. Talks about the Bills. And that brings up the AFC East. Now, we do know the New England Patriots can, and that's why I don't want to say, can the New England Patriots win the AFC East? I'm going to put you on the spot here. Breakdown. I'm going to put you on the spot. Will the New England Patriots win the AFC East? We know they can. The question is not can they, will they? Who is going to come out on top, the AFC East? And before you say it, let me tell you right now, stats came out today. New England is now plus 300 to win the AFC East.
You're driving down the road in your rearview mirror, you look out the side. What does it say on the bottom of the mirror? It says objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. And yes, they are. Buffalo hears, what's that? They hear footsteps, man. They hear us coming. They got something that belongs to us, which is the division title. Hope they enjoyed it last year. We're coming to your house. Week 13, we're going to punch you in the mouth and take it back. Patriots will win the AFC East because I think Buffalo is down. I think Tennessee and Buffalo back-to-back, it's a big test, but I also look at it as a big opportunity, man. This Patriots team's young and hungry. They want to prove themselves. They want to prove that they're still the team they deserve to be credited as throughout the last 20 years. I think they match up well with Buffalo. I think they match up well with Tennessee. I think they're going to do it. I really do.
You know what? I'm completely with you. And earlier in the season, I wasn't saying this. In the offseason, I wasn't saying this. I also didn't think the Bills were going to, and their record isn't bad. So to say fall off is more from the identity of what you see from the team game in and game out, and not necessarily what the record is showing you. I wasn't expecting them to take kind of this big of a step backwards from what we saw last year. They're still a great team. They're definitely still a team that's going to be tough to play in the playoffs, the regular season. They are a legit Super Bowl contender. But like I said earlier in this live stream, the way you are playing at this point, how gathered you are at this point in the season is very determined on how you are going to continue the rest of your season and head into the postseason. And right now, New England looks like the way better team from an offensive standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, from a special team standpoint than the Buffalo Bills do. So I got to say that New England is also going to come out and win against the Buffalo Bills. I think at this point they're what, a half a game behind the Buffalo Bills, if I'm correct.
Yeah, they're Buffalo's 6-3, we're 6-4. So yeah, just a half game out. We get to play them twice yet. So yeah, and Buffalo still has to go to Tampa Bay also. It's gonna be a tough game for them. So we definitely have a chance to make up some ground here in the standings. A lot of ground actually. I just don't think Buffalo's dealing well with being kind of the hunted rather than the hunter. Last year they were kind of the new kid on the block. They were coming out surprising everybody because they were playing a poor schedule, second, third place schedule, whatever they were the year before. Now this year they're playing a first place schedule. They're playing really good teams every week. Everybody knows how good they are. They're not sneaking up on anybody. They're still really a young team. Do they know how to, they got to the top last year, but staying at the top is a whole nother thing. I think they're having some trouble doing that. As a young team, they don't really have that kind of experience yet. So yeah, we still have a lot of veterans on the Patriots too. Guys like Hightower, McCourty, Slater, all those guys, the old veteran leadership, David Andrews, guys that still definitely know how to win games when they get tight late in the season. I like our chances to win the division, man. I really do.
Yeah, getting there is one thing. Staying there is the other. New England has been, I want to say, the best team in the NFL at being able to actually stay at the top. I mean, even last year, just barely missing the playoffs despite everything they were going through. And yet somehow everyone still thought that last year was the new identity for the New England Patriots when you look at all of the factors that went in. And it's just bizarre that people thought that. And you know what? Reality's back. You know, the whole pandemic happened. Everything was out of place. The world was out of place. Reality was even out of place.
They were
But
hoping.
You know what?
They were trying to be right, not get it right. They were hoping we were dead. They were hoping we were down. Guess what, man? It's like Cam said yesterday. We're back.
There's a difference between reality and fantasy and hoping. And you know what? The reality is that as the world gets back to heading into reality, so does the NFL. And you know what? The New England Patriots are the NFL's team. This is the New England Patriots we're talking about.
The last month of the season. I mean, anybody in the NFL, is there any team in the league that's played significantly better than the Patriots have? Last month of the season, just looking at it in a vacuum, I don't think there is. I mean, again, you look at teams that they might look more stacked. You know, the Rams, the Titans have had a great year. I'm just talking about, recent memory. Patriots are playing as well as anybody, man. Plus 98 point differential. That's tied for second in the league right now with Arizona, only behind Buffalo. They feasted on some bad teams early in the year, but I mean, we're just killing it, man. Almost every statistical category the last few weeks, just crushing it, man.
I agree. And if you look at the Buffalo Bills schedule, we already touched on the New England Patriots schedule. So if you want to touch on the Buffalo Bills, they next up have the Saints, who the Saints aren't a bad team. They have some kind of question marks here and there for sure, but they are a team that still can get it going and is definitely
easily beat Tennessee and Nashville yesterday.
Yeah, they can 100% come out with a win against the Buffalo Bills. So that's a game to watch. A week after they play the Saints, right after they're heading to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's another tough game. After the Buccaneers, they play the Patriots. Or wait, hold up. Read that wrong. It's going this way. So they play the Colts, which isn't an easy game. I still think the Bills will come on top, but the Colts can still surprise. But then they play the Saints, then they play the Patriots, then the Bucks, then the Panthers, then the Patriots again, then the Falcons, and then the Jets. So depends on how the Falcons are at that point. The Falcons could be a surprise team to pull a potential surprise upset at that point. I think they'll beat the Jets. Like I said, they have to face us twice. Cam Newton with the Panthers, maybe he could change the dynamic there a little bit. The
Panthers seem to have found new life now that Cam is back. He injected new life into that team. And we saw him. When we played against them, they're a real team, man. They just don't have a quarterback, or they didn't until Cam came back. Darnold was absolutely garbage that day, but they got they've got skill talent. They've got a pretty good offensive line. Their defense is solid, man. I mean, they got Stephon Gilmore. J.C. Horn's not even there anymore. He's got a broken foot. He's out, but they're just a solid all-around team. They could definitely give Buffalo some trouble. And then, like we talked about, we know what Tampa Bay is. They've kind of gone through a little rough patch right now, but you got to figure they're going to turn it around. Playing us twice, we're playing as well as anybody in the league. And Buffalo's got a, and then the Saints, it's coming. I mean, it's going to be a tough little stretch for them. We're going to see what they're made out of more than anything, I think.
Yeah, I mean, these in-division games for both the Bills and the Patriots are going to be really what comes down and determines this game. So, I mean, when we're playing the Jets, when we're playing the Dolphins, when we're playing the Bills, when they're playing us, the Jets, the Dolphins, like those games are going to be very important. But I would definitely 100% say that if you look at this last stretch of the 2021 NFL season before the postseason starts, I would say the Bills have the harder schedule than the New England Patriots do by far. By far, I would say they do. Again, the Patriots twice, the Saints, the Buccaneers, the Panthers. I definitely say that the Bills have the harder schedule than the New England Patriots.
What makes the 20 years, man? It's what makes it so impressive, because won the division almost every single year. I mean, there was a couple years we didn't, but when you win the division, you're playing a first place schedule on the following year's schedule. Now you see Buffalo. I mean, they win the division one time. They're kind of struggling with it now. So I mean, I think that just speaks to how impressive of a feat the last 2 decades was. And Buffalo now, I mean, are they handling the pressure of being the hunted now rather than the hunter? I don't think they're handling it very well this year.
I 100% agree with you. So big shout out there to Reggie P. Reggie does also give another donation here of $20. So huge day here again for Reggie.
Reggie
means a ton to us. It really gives back to the channel, helps us. And you know what? This is my dream to make this a full-time job, get into the NFL, whatnot. So you guys supporting me, supporting the channel only means that I can make this a full-time job. At some point, if I could quit my daytime job, do this even more.
Yeah.
That just means more and better content for you guys. So you guys giving back to the channel constantly helps me out here. Also got a 20 dono from Die Hard Pats fan. I can tell you are Die Hard. I can tell you are Die Hard. And for all of you Die Hard Patriots Global fans, guys, make sure in the description below you cop your Patriots Global merch. We got so many different types of styles that you guys can finesse. Always link in the description in every single video, including this one, if you want to go check out that Patriots Global store.
I need a Seinfeld theme more so than the Friends theme. I'm more of a Seinfeld guy, but that's okay.
Seinfeld. You know what? That's okay. I actually just started watching on Thursday Saved by the Bell, and I mess with it.
You haven't watched Saved? Oh, wow, yeah, that's legendary, man. Yeah, Saved by the wow, yeah, that just brought back some memories. Yep,
I mess with it. Let's see. Do we have any other donos here? Let me get into. We do have one here actually. We have one from Die Hard Pats fan. Die Hard Pats fan with another one says, New England is gonna take it. They are hiding in the shadow, just ready to take the AFC. And that comment is worth a second donation payment because I believe that much in this year's Pats. And you know what, Die Hard Pats fan, you are giving us the energy. You are giving the fans the energy. We completely agree with you guys. It is time for the New England Patriots to take back what is rightfully theirs. And you know what? Dare I say, this is a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yeah, and they match up. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like we were talking about earlier with the formula, man. That's how you win playoff games, and Bill knows that. Everybody knows that around the league. That you want to be playing your best ball. This Thanksgiving onward. Belichick always has these teams coming to a boil right around Thanksgiving, middle of November. This is exactly where we want to be right now. They're playing so efficiently, so physically sound. Getting better with the penalties, like we said, cut the turnovers. Playing smart ball, executing in the key moments in the fourth quarter. It's like I said, man, there's nobody really playing significantly better than the Patriots are in the entire NFL right now. And they absolutely have a shot. And if you win the division, obviously you're going to be hosting Wild Card Weekend. There's only one bye now. I mean, maybe the bye, maybe that's a little out of reach at this point, but who knows? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen the rest of the year. Nothing's clinched. But yeah, could you imagine, man? Just think about where we were, in September. To now, just the turnaround that we've seen, the improvement.
Oh my God!
I was thinking, I thought we might see this going into next year. I thought this year was going to be, kind of finding ourselves again. But man, the way they've been playing the last month, they can play with anybody. They really can. If you don't think the Patriots are a serious contender, I don't know what to tell you anymore.
There is nobody in the league at this point that scares me. You look at Tampa; they don't have it all together. Brady throws 2 interceptions, within the first half there.
Notice everybody else is sputtering, and we're kind of going in an upward direction.
Yeah, everybody's kind of falling down. They're kind of losing their identity while New England is getting very, very consistent. But you know what? It looks like we are having a full-on battle out here in the donation side of things between Reggie and Die Hard Pats fan. Another 20 dono by Reggie P says, at Die Hard Pats fan, I'm 100% with you. I think it deserves a third donation. It's not just us, bro. It's not just us that think that this is time for the New England Patriots to take back what's rightfully theirs. It is not just us that think the New England Patriots are going to take back what is rightfully theirs. Pats Nation agrees with us that New England is going to take the AFC East home, and New England is a Super Bowl caliber team. This is a team to watch, and you know what? Me and Patriots Football Breakdown are going to be making an entire video for you guys. That is right. An entire video for you guys on why the New England Patriots are a Super Bowl caliber team. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But let me make sure I didn't miss anything else before I have a spasm.
They're live today, man. They're live.
The energy in today's live stream is unmatched. The energy. All right. I think I'm caught up now. I think we can get back to the analysis side of things now that we kind of got everybody maybe a little bit too hyped. We're gonna be those guys now. I think we might be those guys.
Yeah, we're bumping the Manning cast off TV tonight. We're taking over ESPN too.
We're taking over ESPN. You know what? We should. We honestly should get us on ESPN for once. Oh shoot! Die Hard Pats fan coming at it. Reggie P, I got to agree with that. Making it 3. I love these guys. Their content is great. I'm going to be getting my my mercy this week Merry Christmas to me. I think you mean merch. Merch this week. Merry Christmas. Oh, 100%. Merry Christmas to you. And you know what, guys? I'm gonna just say it now. If you are not in the Patreon, join the Patreon, guys. I mean, for only $10, for $10 a month, that is it. That is all for the entire month. Only $10. You can join. You can get exclusive benefits. You can join a Patreon Discord with me and other Patreon members. Guys, let me tell you, that Patreon Discord is constantly going. Every single update that you could possibly ask for, you get notified on your phone from the Discord. It's like a big group chat with all of us. And we are constantly talking about breaking news, rumors, all that with the New England Patriots. I'm in it. I'm going to be adding Patriots football breakdown too. If you guys have questions for us, that is the best way to contact us. And like I said, it's only $10 a month and you get to contact us and everybody else whenever the heck you want. So definitely make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. But diehard Pats fan and a Reggie P, you guys are the absolute GOATs. You guys are dominating it today. Absolutely love you guys. Absolutely appreciate you said, oh, Reggie P's
hard,
at it.
It's hardcore, man.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I might pass out. This is getting a little bit crazy. Reggie P with another donation says, I wonder how much we got to pay so he can quit his job and keep the content coming. I mean, hey, I got a $500 car payment every month and I got to eat. Ooh. So go from there, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I really appreciate you guys for donating. I really appreciate you guys for giving back to the channel. It's an absolute blast. But let me see here. Let me look into the statistical side of things now. Hunter Henry with a 2-touchdown game. Targeted 4 times, 4 receptions, 37 yards. I want to know your thoughts, though, Patriots football breakdown, on kind of the dynamic here of Hunter Henry getting the smaller contract, who's obviously signed later than Jonnu Smith, and him being the guy that is really rising his stock with the New England Patriots as of late. He's lived up to every single penny that New England and Belichick has given him so far, as where Jonnu Smith, again, gets that bigger, more voluptuous contract, and he's not performing great at all. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Hunter Henry probably more, refined pass catcher of the 2 tight ends. I think they viewed Jonnu Smith as more of just kind of like a general athlete, more so than just specifically a tight end. But Hunter is that classic inline tight end, kind of serving in that Gronk role. I think we've kind of talked about that before. But I think the main thing that they had a little hesitancy with Hunter was the fact that he had a little bit of an injury history. I think they were a little bit scared by that, so they went 3 years with him instead of the 4 with Jonnu. I believe they're the same age. But yeah, I mean, Hunter has absolutely lived up to the billing, every bit and then some, man. And as far as Jonnu goes, he's been a little banged up, got off to a really slow start. Thought he was starting to turn a corner there, kind of toward the week 6, week 5 area, but it just hasn't really materialized yet for him. I mean, maybe it takes until next year to get him fully going. I think what they have going on offense right now is a really good formula. I don't think they necessarily want to disrupt that too much, but I mean, I'm sure they're going to still sprinkle him in and whatnot. Seeing Matt Lacoste bump back down to the practice squad today, that is maybe making me a little hopeful that he's going to avoid IR, that being Jonnu with that shoulder injury. He played last week but didn't play yesterday, so I was wondering maybe he aggravated that. Maybe something like that happened. But no, man, I think Hunter's been outstanding. I thought the 2 touchdowns yesterday were beautiful. Even he had another catch on the sideline that was great. I mean, he just had an overall great game. Shakes the defender at the line of scrimmage on the goal line, kind of similar to the one against the Jets a few weeks ago, and then just a beautiful over the shoulder catch, drags the feet on the side of the end zone there. Beautiful, beautiful job by Hunter Henry. He's been every bit what we expected and then some, and he stayed healthy too. That's the main thing with him.
Oh my God, yeah,
stayed healthy, and he's been probably their most consistent, productive receiver to this point. I would say, at least making touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, he looks great in blocking, makes that great diving catch there in yesterday's game here to move the chains. Those 2 touchdowns were spectacular. Even his ability to even get open, like we talked about when they originally signed him, he was the more refined player. He was the better refined route runner. If you wanted to put him in dynamic to a few years ago when New England had Gronk and Hernandez, he was the Gronk. He was the Gronk while Jonnu was the Hernandez. So I definitely thought that the production-wise, you were going to get more out of Hunter Henry for sure. I just thought we would be getting more out of Jonnu at this point also. You can't argue the fact that Hunter Henry is the more refined player in really every aspect of the game. But I would say as more of a ceiling, Jonnu Smith has that higher ceiling, has that higher potential. He is the faster tight end. He can use him all over the offense. You want to lose him at H-back. You want to use him at tight end. You want to set him out wide. He can do all these different things. And we've seen New England do that a lot with Jonnu Smith, use him in different kind of packages. Have they done it to the full extent? Not at all. I think there's a lot of things that they can still do. They can get very creative with him. I think that he could really be utilized as a Swiss Army knife, a specialty player like kind of they had back in the day with Cordero Patterson, but even more specifically, how Atlanta right now is using Cordero Patterson, I think is an excellent way that the Patriots could be using Jonnu Smith. So I'm kind of with you on that board of thinking, hey, maybe it's going to take another year. Maybe it's going to take, 2 years or whatnot till Jonnu really gets divulged and they really get to do these really experimental things with him. I mean, year one into the offense, they weren't going to throw the entire kitchen sink at him. They weren't going to throw everything at him, especially with a rookie quarterback in the helm, who again wasn't named to be the starting quarterback till 2 weeks before the start of the 2021 season. But if you want to look at statistics here, regular season, Jonnu Smith has 1 touchdown. He has a long reception of 28 yards. He's averaging 9.2 yards per reception, 21 receptions for 193 yards. Those stats do not jump out at you. No. Not at all. Not for
relative to the
not for 10 games. Not for 10 games.
Yeah.
If you look at Hunter Henry here, you want to look at Hunter Henry's stats in comparison. Hunter Henry has put up 353 yards, 31 receptions, averaging 11.4 yards per reception, a long reception of 33 yards, and also has a total of 7 touchdowns. If he adds one more, which, okay, let's be honest, he's going to add way more than one more touchdown.
Pretty sure we can pencil that in, yeah.
Yeah, we could probably pencil that in at this point. He will break that 2016 record with the Chargers where he put up a career high of 8 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
He's more than lived up to the expectations. And he's definitely tight end 1 for me at this point. And hopefully they can kind of get Jonnu Smith going as time goes on. I think Jonnu is still a great blocker. He's still someone you have to compensate for. I think Jonnu is the type of guy that you want to get into space a whole lot more. Once he's into space, I think he can pick up yards a lot better than Hunter Henry. But Hunter Henry is a guy that if you're in trouble, if he's even double teamed, you go to Hunter Henry over Jonnu Smith because he's going to bring down those tough catches.
Yeah, if Jonnu's going to be the Hernandez to Hunter Henry's Gronk, hopefully nobody spills a drink on him. I'll just say
that. Oh, yeah, let's hope so, right? But I kind of want to get in here to the offensive line. Like I mentioned a little while ago at this point, the offensive line was kind of the only question mark, for lack of better words, that I had here. And that's the fact that Michael Onwenu was kind of a rotational piece. Like you said, he was kind of lined up at tight end at one point. They had him kind of come in and place at different points on the offensive line. They decided to go with Ted Karras at the starting left guard over Michael Onwenu, and I just don't agree with it. I will say this. Michael Onwenu has been a top 3 graded tackle since he started at tackle for the New England Patriots this season. He's way too good. He's way too good to not be on the field. And the best way that I could possibly think, hey, the New England Patriots decided to go with Ted Karras over Michael Onwenu is they want to kind of continue that consistency. They want to continue that continuity. They want to continue that chemistry with each other. And obviously, they have that a lot more with Ted Karras at this point because he's been here for so long, despite him leaving for a year, than they do with Michael Onwenu. But from a pure talent standpoint, Michael Onwenu needs to get in here. So what are your kind of thoughts on Michael Onwenu out of the offensive line, essentially being a rotational piece yesterday, and Trent Brown coming in for his first game back, first time playing a full game this entire season, and looked, I think, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, that caught me by surprise a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that Trent even played yesterday. I didn't think he'd be back on the field that quickly after being activated from IR, even though it's been a while since he's been on the field, had a lot of time to heal up. But then the fact that not only is he playing, he replaced Mike Onwenu on the starting lineup. That one really, really surprised me. It seemed like they were kind of using Onwenu to spell Trent a little bit yesterday. They didn't want to kind of give him the full workload. Maybe, just kind of keep him on a pitch count a little bit, kind of maybe play some, injury management. Don't let him, have any of those nagging injuries potentially pop up again, which I think is smart. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they essentially chose Karras over Onwenu, I mean, I think it tells you more about what they feel about Ted Karras. I mean, I think he's had a great season coming
I
in off
agree.
the bench after the season started. I mean, yeah, it's hard. I mean, now to me, I think about it more like, the leash on Isaiah Wynn has now gotten a lot shorter because now you have two guys that are healthy that are playing the tackle position really well. If all these mistakes continue with Isaiah Wynn, I think he's going to be lucky to not go to the bench. But I really like what they were doing in the run game yesterday. Like you said, on Wenu out at the tight end spot, going really, really super heavy on that one side. And they could do that on the other side too, obviously. But that's just great power running formula. I love seeing stuff like that, overloading to the side with the power running game. That's really great. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they shuffle these guys around. I just look at Isaiah Wynn. I think he's on notice at this point. If Trent Brown stays healthy, obviously we know Mike Onwenu how great he's been at right tackle this year since they've moved him out there. If some of those mental mistakes continue, I think it might be gone to the bench for him and have maybe Trent and Onwenu as your tackles.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And honestly, this whole thing has really gotten me thinking about the tackle position more specifically. Now, this offensive line in general, this entire season has given me nothing but a headache. It's at this point, it's getting really hard to keep track of which guys where, which guy has been starting where this entire season, who's getting moved around, who's on IR, who's potentially out the door. But I think you look at Trent Brown. He was hoping to get a big contract this offseason. He kind of restructures that contract for the Patriots once he was traded from the Raiders to the Patriots, basically kind of voiding the rest of those years and putting him in free agency at the end of the season. But with how he kind of has pinned himself in over the last couple seasons, and even specifically this season as an injured player, I just don't think he's going to get this massive contract that he did compared to the last stint he had with the New England Patriots. So I wonder if New England could potentially get Trent Brown back on a good deal, maybe pick up a depth piece or an offensive lineman, maybe mid to late round in this upcoming draft. Start Trent Brown at left tackle going forward, next season or whatnot, sign him to a longer contract. Then you trade Isaiah Wynn to somebody this offseason. You picked up his 5th-year option. You have him under contract for next year also. And you try to flip that because the money you gave him as a 5th-year option, picking up that money for a tackle, it's not cheap. And with how Isaiah Wynn has played, I don't think that is necessarily out the door. And Trent Brown has played a whole lot better, at least from what we've seen this season. And even from a consistent standpoint in his career, has played better, than Isaiah Wynn. If you want to look at the kind of miscues yesterday for the offensive line, Isaiah Wynn allows 1 sack, 2 pressures, 1 hurry, and put up a 81.7 run blocking grade. So I thought that was good. That was probably the bright side to Isaiah Wynn, was that run blocking grade. But then you look at Trent Brown. Trent Brown only allows 1 pressure and 1 hurry, and he has a 91.3 run blocking grade. And I think we've seen
Mount
that.
Everest and shoulder pads.
Exactly. And I think that we've even seen Trent Brown, at least I personally believe, plays better at left tackle than right tackle. Now we'll have to see how that would be because he hasn't played left tackle in a while. How he would be kind of switching to the other side again. But we saw nothing but elite play from Trent Brown at left tackle in his last game with the New England Patriots. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's something that they potentially did with him. Michael Onwenu, he was clean. He was clean and had a 81.7 run blocking grade. You have to get him in there. You have to get him in somehow. Not having him in the game is definitely going to hurt one way or another. I know I pin out continuity all the time, and I firmly believe in that. I believe in chemistry. I think the last few weeks we finally found what works for the New England Patriots, but with Trent Brown back, with Trent Brown playing how he is, with Isaiah Wynn playing with how Isaiah Wynn is, you can't have him off. It's going to be a big mistake to keep Onwenu or Trent Brown off the field.
Yeah, you got to play your best players, definitely. And, maybe some of the upside of a lot of the reshuffling earlier in the season is now these guys are a little more used to and a little more able to kind of flip around a little bit more on shorter notice if they need to. Maybe you go back to Onwenu at left guard and, Brown at right tackle. And if something pops up, then, you got Ted Karras coming off the bench and you've got the reliable backup. So, yeah, I mean, no, I agree with what you're saying about Onwenu. Best players have to play, no doubt. He is one of their best offensive linemen. He's got to be on the field more often than not. I just worry about the Isaiah Wynn thing. I don't know how much we can rely on him. Trent Brown, he's really good when he's out there. Can he stay out there? That's the question with him. I just think when they're at their best and when they're right, the offensive line can be really, really great. But it's just been so many things up in the air this year, so many variables that haven't really gone our way. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out the rest of the year. But I think if everything goes well, they should absolutely be able to get Onwenu and Trent Brown regular playing time, be regular starters again on the offensive line. No reason why they shouldn't. And if they want to go to that heavy package, you pop Ted Karras back in at left guard. Do your thing with Onwenu at the tight end spot, however you want to slice it. But yeah, I think maybe part of that reshuffling early in the year might have given them some added versatility. Now, might be in a strange way is paying some dividends. If they have to do it again, at least they'll be more ready, more equipped for it.
Yeah. Guys, make sure you do leave a big like on this video. It really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, helping new Patriots fans find the channel, help us rank higher in YouTube search when it comes to the New England Patriots. So if you guys haven't, cost you absolutely nothing, go ahead, hit that thumbs up button. Helps us out tremendously. Takes you less than a second. But to kind of hint on what I think this offensive line could potentially look like or should potentially look like, Ted Karras didn't have a bad game, but he allows a sack, allows a pressure, had a run blocking grade of 71.1. I firmly believe that if Michael Onwenu was there at left guard, those are better statistics. I do. And that's not to say he was going to be clean all game, but even from a run blocking standpoint, I think that grade is a whole lot higher if Onwenu was in the game. Maybe the whole question is you have either, if we're going left to right, I think there's two potential things that they could do. They could either go Isaiah Wynn, they could go Michael Onwenu, David Andrews, Shaq Mason, and then Trent Brown, or they could go Trent Brown, then they could go Joe Tooney, David Andrews, Shaq Mason, and Michael Onwenu at right tackle. I don't think that's necessarily out of the question too.
Yeah, no, it's not, Trent, like we said, obviously has experience playing on the left side. He hasn't done it maybe in a couple of years since he was here the first time, but, I'm sure it would be something he could get used to again relatively quickly. He's a talented player. I'm sure he'd figure it out. And, I think they have a lot of guys that they can, not that they want to flip them around too much, but they have a lot of guys that are, they possess a lot of versatility, tackle, guard, interchangeability, things like that, guard, center, interchangeability. I think that's good to have. You don't want to, be switching guys around every week like that, but at least if you have to, if something pops up, injury wise, performance related, whatever, you can definitely do that. So yeah, Trent Brown at the left side, I don't see why not, man. I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah, I completely agree. At this point, I feel like a game that you could do that in would be, I don't want to say the last 2 weeks you could, but I feel like that's kind of a last minute thing to do. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad idea to even try it this week, because you don't want to do it against the Buffalo Bills. You don't want to do it against the Tennessee Titans. You could definitely try it against the Atlanta Falcons if you are curious to see how that is going to go here. But, we talked a lot about offense here. Not too many keys defensively that I personally want to talk about. It's kind of like, and that's not a bad thing. I feel like it's kind of just same thing we've been talking about. This team looks amazing defensively, and it's more specifically that pass rush. Matt Judon continues to look spectacular. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, 1 stop, had a run defensive grade of 51.3. Dietrich Wise, to me, was the player defensively. I think had an amazing game. 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 5 pressures, 2 stops, 67.6 run defensive grade. I think Dietrich Wise has proven this season that he is worth every penny of that 4-year contract extension that he got.
Yeah, man, definitely. I think, that was one that kind of had me scratch my head a little bit. I was like, well, should they have given him that kind of money? Should they have brought him back, especially off a unit that wasn't particularly good last year in the front 7? But yeah, I think he's been playing really well. I think Kyle Van Noy's been playing really well lately. It seems like he's gotten healthier. Really picked up his play over the last few weeks. Dante Hightower doing a great job against the run. Juwan Bentley had a few stops in the backfield yesterday. They're doing their thing, in between the tackles, stopping the run. And I think that's what they want to do. They kind of want to play big in the front 7. That classic Belichick 3-4 with the 3 big defensive linemen in there. Godshaw, Carl Davis. I think Carl Davis has been very good too. I think he's been kind of an unsung hero last couple of weeks. But yeah, I like what they're doing defensively. They're big, they're physical, they're kind of they're definitely dominating the point of the attack. at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, I like what I've seen, man. Linebackers are playing better. The secondary, even though we've had some injuries, Jonathan Jones out for the year, really stings, but Miles Bryant's come in and played really well. So it's been great. Adrian Phillips playing really well. Devin McCourty starting to come on later in the year. So yeah, I mean, the defense is outstanding. The pass rush, like I said, was great. 5 sacks. If they can keep that up, man, sky's the limit.
Yeah, these linebackers definitely got involved big time this week. Whether that's Jawan Bentley, who absolutely just shot the gap to make that big stop. I forget who the running back was at that point for the Cleveland Browns, but just a dynamic.
They only had like one yesterday. They were down like their 4th guy, I think.
Yeah, just a dynamic stop there by Jawan Bentley. Also puts up a quarterback hit, but both Kyle Van Noy and Dante Hightower able to put up sacks. Kyle Van Noy actually graded better against the run than Dante Hightower did. So, probably my other bigger standout here was when it came to coverage. I mean, JC Jackson played shutdown in this game. Absolutely shut down. Was targeted 5 times, 0 receptions allowed, 2 pass breaks, and a 39.6 passer rating allowed.
Yeah, I mean, coverage did fantastic, man. You look at Jarvis Landry, he was shut down, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think he only had like 1 catch for 16 yards, and Njoku, 1 catch, 11 yards. I mean, nobody in the Cleveland receiving corps, man. I mean, nobody really did anything to get out. I mean, Austin Hooper, he had a little bit, he had the touchdown for Cleveland, but yeah, secondary's been great lately, man. It's going to be a big dilemma here later in the season with JC Jackson. What do they do to keep him? I think they, franchise tag maybe. I mean, what are they going to do with that? It's going to be a really, really, really big offseason for the secondary because you got a lot of guys that are hitting free agency. I didn't necessarily want to have to take a cornerback in the first round this year. I mean, not really sure how that's going to shake out yet. I mean, that's still a ways off, but I mean, JC Jackson's going to be a big piece for the future. I mean, it's still young. I think they kind of have come around to the point of giving him a big contract. I mean, I know I have. Entering this year, I didn't think he was necessarily worthy of being that, solid number 1 corner, at least, via a contract. But I mean, I think he's earned it. With what he's done in man coverage this year, played really good in zone coverage. They're kind of sprinkling in a little bit more zone, maybe because they're anticipating not, having as great a cornerback, a great a secondary next year. And you kind of think about it. When we lost Chandler Jones, we kind of went to I have no pass rush now, so I'm going to build a great secondary. Now, as the years went on, guys got older, guys moved on. It's like, okay, well, now my secondary is getting a little thinner, so I'm going to build back a great pass rush, which is what we have now. So it's a little bit interesting to see kind of the dichotomy there. But yeah, JC is going to be a big piece on defense this year, but the secondary has been great overall, I think.
I agree. Let's see what they do in the offseason. I think me and you will be talking about that a lot this offseason. We're going to be making tons of videos on the offseason when the time comes. But definitely impressed with, the deficiencies that they've had in that secondary, all the concerns we've had to switch it to zone and to play as spectacular as they've had. I mean, definitely kudos to the defensive line, because without the elite defensive line that they've had, without the elite pressure that they've had between Christian Barmore, Matt Judon, Dietrich Wise, I mean, really everybody essentially. Lawrence Guy has stepped it up tremendously over the last several weeks. Without them, this secondary definitely struggles a lot more, but I think every unit here defensively has played really well. But diehard Pats fan gives us another donation in today's chat, says at Alpha ROB, Pats fans are the most real fans out there. You living under a rock. Come on back when we take the AFC and when Mac gets a rookie of the year. I honestly don't know where you get your stats from. Looks like we got I think we pissed a Bills fan off in here. Huh. Uh-oh.
Good. I like that.
Oh no. I might have my Bills YouTubers might have told their fans to come into our group chat. I got some Bills YouTuber friends.
We can debate them. We can do like a 4-person chat. No problem with me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to post the clip that we did in today's live stream for those who aren't able to see it, of our discussion about who will win the AFC East. But this might honestly be a debate where me and Patriots Football Breakdown have to get, 1 or 2 Bills YouTubers on here and kind of go at it and just explain who's going to win the AFC East. I think that might actually be a really fun debate of a video.
I got no problem with that.
I think we might have to do that. Diehard Pats fan, continue to show out for Pats Nation. You go ahead and you tell him the Patriots are taking over. The Patriots are taking over. Just you wait. More fuel to the fire. That is exactly what we are looking for But we have another donation here. This one isn't from Alpha, or this one isn't from Reggie P or from Die Hard Path Fan. This one is from Derek. Derek, what is going on? Thank you for your $5 donation, buddy. You said, how do you see them incorporating Jonnu Smith once he returns? Seems like he's been a non-factor. So, essentially what I kind of see them doing is kind of not necessarily splitting those reps. I think earlier on we saw them more so splitting those reps between Jonnu and Hunter Henry. I think at this point, Hunter Henry is your key number one. But we did see even yesterday with Jonnu Smith out of the mix, they promoted Matt Lacoste, and they activated Devin Asiasi, who wasn't a healthy scratch, which he has been this entire season. So even when Jonnu Smith does come back, they still want to run those 2 tight end sets. This isn't going to be a situation where you're cutting Jonnu at the end of the season, you're trading Jonnu at the end of the season, you're only running with 1 tight end. New England does still want to run 2 tight end sets. They showed that with the promotion of 2 guys, or 1 promotion, and then not letting the 1 guy be a healthy scratch yesterday. And I think even when Jonnu went out, I believe, what was it, last week? In last week's game, I believe he went out pretty early in the game. Before that, seemed like they were going to Jonnu back to back. They were using him in a variety of different ways, and they were trying to get him going early on. I think what you can expect to see from Jonnu once he does return is to be used in a variety of different ways still. Hopefully they continue to use him all along the offense. I would like to see them give him more opportunities at H-back. They gave him a couple before he got injured. I'd like to see that continue to happen, but really trying to get him into space. Again, that's going to be the difference between him and Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is going to be the guy that goes out there. He's going to run routes, and you're going to get him the ball in tight coverage. Jonnu's the guy that you're going to see in a variety of different places offensively, and you'll want to get him into open space because of what he can do after he catches the ball.
No, I'd like to see him do. I'd like to see. You remember earlier in the year they were using some of that wildcat formation a little bit with Damian Harris taking the snap. I'd like to see him maybe getting there in the pistol as the quarterback. Maybe a little triple option, new little wrinkle to add to the offense, downhill running game, and get out to the edge if the end crashes down. With option rules and whatnot. I think that'd be a nice little added wrinkle. I mean, obviously a much better athlete than Mac Jones would be running that. Now you don't have the threat of the pass, but at the same time, it'd be a great, maybe a little wrinkle down the goal line, short yardage. That might be something interesting that they do there. I'd like to see that.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I love that idea. I definitely think there's things we haven't seen yet with Jonnu Smith that they've practiced, but they haven't necessarily shown out yet. So I think there's definitely still some good things here for Jonnu to ultimately come out and pop off here towards the end of the year. Let me make sure there's nothing else here. But Patriots football breakdown. Is there anything else that you have to add here before we end off in today's recap?
Man, I'm just so happy to see the way that this team is, progressing here later in the season, 4 in a row. We got a short week this week, Atlanta, but I think it's a winnable game. I think we can push it to 7-4. I love the momentum. I love the physicality this team's playing with. They're playing with so much more confidence, playing smarter football, cleaner football. It's a great formula. I think the sky's the limit with this team, man. Really excited to see how the season plays out, man. I think it's gonna be really great.
Yes. And like Abram actually just said in the chat, and no problem, Derek. We always got you. Like Abram did just say in the chat, big shout out, big congratulations here to Jacoby Myers for that first NFL touchdown. It's exactly
right. Yeah, he got his first.
Time. So we're ending that one off right. I want to thank again everybody who donated in today's chat. Just a spectacular support and tremendous love here in today's chat from all of you. Diehard Pats fan, Derek, Reggie, you guys popped off today. Nothing but love for you guys. Always appreciate it. If you guys do want to become Patreon members, get more benefits from the channel, join the Patreon Discord. Make sure you guys become a Patreon member. Link in the description below and get your Patriots Global merch like always. Link is in the description below. Make sure you guys leave a big like on this video. It helps us out tremendously. Subscribe to me. Subscribe to Patriots Football Breakdown for all of your New England Patriots content. But until then, guys, we will see you in next week's recap. Go Pats.
Go Pats.